questions, if you want some pictures taken, you're more than welcome to ask. And before we start, I'll check you over on this side. There are some interesting things over there related to the QE2 and also to the QNAT line. And later on, we'll go over this side, we'll talk more about the QE2. Just come over. There's one model which is over here. There's also another one over that side, and this other one over here as well. So this is where it all started for the QNAT line, and the founder of the QNAT line was called Sir Samuel Cunard, and that was actually their first steamship, and she was called the Britannia. So she made a maiden voyage in 1840, traveling from Liverpool via Halifax going to Boston, and the journey took about 14 days. About 14 days, which was a little bit boring because there was actually nothing to do there. It's either you were sleeping or you were eating, and she was also very small. She can fit in one of the outlets in the QE2, which I'll show you later on as we're progressing. So on her maiden voyage, she was carrying about 115 passengers, 89 crew members, some live goats and live cows for fresh food and fresh milk. By this time, there were no refrigerators yet in the ships, and there were also some cats running around to control the rats as well. And this was supposed to be a first-class ship, so that's how bad it was that time. So now later on in 1845, the White Star Line came, so there was now a little bit of a competition between the two companies. So, but in 1934, both the companies were almost going broke, and they were forced by the British government to form a merger. So they formed one company which was now called the Cunard White Star Line, and the original Cunard Line ships would identify them with the last two letters IA. So it ships like Aquitania, Britannia, Mauretania, Acadia, going like that. Then for the White Star, they ended with IC, so the Aquitanic, Britannic, Titanic, Olympic, going like that as well. So basically, that's where it all started for the Cunard line, and they went over to own about 200 ships up to date as well. Then now over this side, we have the QE2 bell, which I'll show you the position where it used to be as we go on board. So there were about two purposes for the bell. They would ring it in the Grand Lounge to celebrate the New Year's, and also on two separate occasions, the bell was actually used for baptism. So they would remove the clapper over here, tilt it up, fill it with water, and the baptized babies here. And two of the babies were actually called Elizabeth as well. Yeah. Then all the books which you are seeing around here, they were all in the QE2. So before the Queen Mary 2 came into service in 2004, the QE2 boasted of the largest library on sea with over 6,000 books. And if you take a look at the books, it's either they have the QE2 library stamp or the Cunard library stamp, and some of them they were actually being read as well. So as you can see, the books are actually being read as well. So these are the books which are in the QE2. Alright, so now we'll come over this side where we'll talk more about the QE2. Yeah? Alright, so now over this side we have the model of the QE2, how she looked like in 1969. But over the years, she has gone through many changes. A lot of refits were done on the QE2. So now, even before the QE2 started sailing, the QE2 already was owing £3 million. Then when she started sailing, she was making a loss of £25 million per year for the next 3 years, which was really bad for the company, and they actually had to do something. So the first thing they did was in 1972, they added another deck here, which is called the Sun Deck. And over there, we have rooms with a private balcony. And the QE2 was one of the first ships to have a room with a private balcony. And of course, they were a little bit expensive also. And another brilliant idea they did, they removed the upper deck library here, and they put on a casino, which actually proved to be very useful. A lot of money was also coming in. And they also removed the 736 Club here, and they put on the Queen's View, the fine dining restaurant over there as well. So those are the first major changes done in 1972. Then 1977, another deck was also added, which is called the Signal Deck. We also have rooms there with a private balcony, and that's where we have the Royal Suites, the Queen Elizabeth, and the Queen Mary Suites as well. And also over the years, many names of the restaurants and the outlets which you are seeing here, they've actually changed. So if you try to use these names now to go on board, you might probably get lost. Like for example, the Double Room, Now we have the Grand Lounge, which is down, and the shopping arcades, which are on top, and they are being operated by Dubai Duty Free. So they're actually operational at the moment, so gents, please be prepared, yeah? Then the midship bar, it's now called the chat room bar. The theatre bar, it's now the popular Golden Lion, probably Dubai's oldest British pub now. So the Golden Lion was actually very popular, that in every Cunard Line ship at the moment, they also have the Golden Lion on board as well. And also in 1969, there was a hospital which could fit about 12 beds, and they could do minor operations. Then in case you needed a major operation, they would fly you out. There were also a printing shop, and they actually printed the Daily Telegraph in there for the passengers. There were also some kennels which could fit about 12 dogs, and interestingly there was actually a British lamppost for the dogs in there as well. And I don't know the reason why. There was also the children's room next to the kennels. I don't know why, it was also like that as well. There was also a revolving car lift over this side. So it's like a drum. You get your car through deck 5, it rotates, takes you down. You could park your car in deck 6 or in deck 7, and she could fit about 80 cars, which was really impressive also in 1969. So now, whenever the Kiwi2 was doing the Atlantic crossing, there were two classes, the first class and the tourist class. So the tourist class was also known as the transatlantic class as well. So the first class passengers, they were in 2, 1, boat, sun and signal deck. Then the tourist class passengers, they were in 3 to 6 deck, and some of the crew members, they were in deck 7, which was a little bit noisy because the engine room is down here, the engine room, the stabilizers, and the laundry over there as well. So this is how the Kiwi2 was in 1969. So we'll be explaining some of the changes as we go on board later on. So now we'll come through over to this side. Pounds, and the Cunard Line, they were not having enough money, so they had to mortgage 11 of the existing ships, and they also got a loan from the British government as well. So construction went all the way up to 1968, but in 1967 she was still under construction, and she was launched by Her Majesty Queen Elizabeth II, and these are the words she said: "I named this ship Queen Elizabeth II, may God bless her and all who sail in her." So now I don't know if she made a mistake or if she did it on purpose, but she actually named the ship after herself, much to the surprise of almost everyone who actually went. Then they started clapping their hands. So the Kiwi2 was supposed to be named Queen Elizabeth, and she was given an envelope which she was supposed to read. She took a look at the envelope, put it back down, and she went on and said these words, which was now a little bit of a problem for the Cunard Line to name the ship after Her Majesty that time. So they had to find another way to go about it. So they said we are naming the ship after the first ship. So that's why on the Kiwi2 we use the number 2 and not the Roman numerals like when we're calling Her Majesty. So they kept the second here and they put it like number 2. So the Kiwi2 is not named after Her Majesty, but she's named after the first ship, yeah? Then in 1969, she made a maiden voyage, traveling from Southampton, going to New York, and the tickets for the tourist class that time, they were going for £86, and for the first class, they were going for £250. Now in 1969, this was quite a lot of money. I've actually met one gentleman. He was telling me he was earning about £20 per month this time. So £86 for the tourist class for only 5 days. It was like his 5-month salary, so it was quite a lot of money as well. Then in 1972, the Kiwi2 also received a bomb threat. So someone was demanding about £350,000, claiming they'd put about 4 to 6 suitcases with a bomb in the Kiwi2, and if they don't pay, they were going to blow up the Kiwi2 in the middle of the ocean. So the British government had to parachute in the Navy bomb disposal team, who went on board, and they actually managed to find the suitcases. But when they opened them, they were only containing some books and some laundry, so it was just a scam. So that guy was later arrested after 1 year and sent into jail for 20 years. But the guys who were parachuted in, they were actually very happy because they got a free ride back home on the Kiwi2. Yeah? Then in 1975, the Kiwi2 made their first world cruise. So from 1969 up to 1975, she was only doing the Atlantic crossing. Then 1975, she traveled around 15 countries in 92 days. And the tickets for the first class that time, they were going for £10,000, which was actually equivalent to buying an average house in the UK. So it was either you buy a house or you go on the cruise, which was fully booked by the way. And that's the first time also the Kiwi2 crossed the Panama Canal. So back in the days, the Panama Canal was very small, and she was leaving about 80 centimeters on either side. Took almost a day to cross, and that's the only area in the world where the Kiwi2 captain had to relinquish his powers. Then the pilot from the Panama Canal would come and navigate the Kiwi2. So that's why you see the Kiwi 2, she was very popular. She could go on these areas where the bigger ships like the Queen Mary, the Queen Elizabeth could not even go before as well. So now we'll take a look how the public life on board the Kiwi 2 was over this. The Queen's Room. So we'll see the original one later when we go on board. So in the Queen's Room, it was mostly for the VIPs, for the first class passengers who would come here for the afternoon tea, which was very popular every day at 4 o'clock. And they used to drink a lot of tea as well. About 2,500 tea bags were consumed each day on the Kiwi 2. Then later on, they would also do some cocktail parties. And of course, a lot of champagne was also consumed. About 77,000 bottles of champagne were consumed each year on the Kiwi 2. And the amount of juice consumed yearly could actually fill up the 4 swimming pools on the Kiwi 2 8 times over, which was also quite a lot of drinking as well. And they also used to do some lectures in here, and there have been very famous people who did some lectures in the Queen's Room. People like Buzz Aldrin, the Concorde pilots, even the personal butler of Princess Diana, Paul Barnell, they all did some lectures in the Queen's Room as well. And the Queen's bus, which you are seeing behind over there, it was also in the Queen's Room from 1969 until 2008. I'll show you the position where it used to be as we go on board later on. Then from this side we've got the tapestries, which used to be very beautiful back in the days. So now they are just nice actually. So they were all covered with gold, all of them. If you come and take a closer look, there's still some fleckings of gold here. There there's nothing, there there's nothing. So in 1986, they took the tapestries for cleaning. They used the wrong material, and unfortunately, all the gold fell down. So now they're just looking like this. And it's just showing their Majesty Queen Elizabeth II in 1967 when she was launching the Kiwi 2. And someone recently pointed out, is that Vladimir Putin over there? Looks like him, yeah? So that's the chairman of King Line. That time says smokes his buzz, yeah? So now we're coming through over to this side. It's a replica of the bridge. So this is how the bridge looks like. And these are some of the live footages which are also taken in the bridge. And this area here is called the Hell. So somebody should be here 24 hours as long as the Kiwi 2 are sailing as well. Then just behind over this side of the Kiwi 2 model, almost how she looks like now. And this is the stern or the aft or the back of the ship. Then this is the forward, the front, and the bow of the ship. So which one do you think was bigger, the Kiwi 2 or the Titanic? Which one do you think was bigger, the Kiwi 2 or the Titanic?
Titanic.
Alright, so it just depends on what you're looking at. So in terms of passenger capacity, the Titanic was actually bigger than the Kiwi 2. So the Titanic carried about 2,400 passengers, and the Kiwi 2 only carried 1,777 passengers. But in terms of length, tonnage, and the number of decks, the Kiwi 2 is much bigger than the Titanic. So the Titanic was around 55,000 tons, and the Kiwi 2 is 70,000 tons. Then in terms of length, the Titanic was around 888 feet long, the Kiwi 2 is 963 feet long. Then in terms of number of decks, the Kiwi 2 has 13 decks, the Titanic only had 9 decks. So the Kiwi is actually much bigger than the Titanic. Yeah? So now we're coming to 1990, and we have Her Majesty Queen Elizabeth II on board in the Kiwi 2. So she came to celebrate the 150th anniversary of the Cunard Line, and she also sailed with the commercial passengers, making actually history because she became the first and only reigning monarch to sail alongside commercial passengers. And this was also probably the longest she was in the Kiwi 2, and that was only 4 hours. So she has been on board the first time in 1969, the second time was in 1990, and the last time was in 2008. Yeah? Then in 1995, the Kiwi 2 was hit by a 29-meter rock wave, which was caused by Hurricane Louis. So the entire front of the ship was covered by water. The flag mast here was hit, actually bent down, and some of the windows in upper deck, they broke and water was going inside. The foghorn, which was supposed to be here, it was found at the back in one of the swimming pools, and the piano was actually flying all over. After that, they had to bolt down the pianos. So it was a very big wave. I'll explain about the wave as we go outside, so at least you can imagine how big the wave was. And also after this wave, all the passengers, all the crew members were actually given certificates as well. And now I always imagine the scenario. Thank you for surviving. I don't know what they were saying. So now, the Kiwi 2 also, she has carried quite a lot of famous passengers on board. Nelson Mandela was on board. His Majesty Sheikh Mohammed Al Maktoum was also on board when he was still a child. Princess Diana, Margaret Thatcher, George W. Bush, Even the last surviving passenger of the Titanic, Leovina Dean, was also on board in the Kiwi 2, and now we also have our very yeah. So now we're coming through over to this side. It's a replica of the tourist class cabin. So this is how the tourist class cabin looked like, but it was much smaller than this. And over this area, we have an original dresser, which was taken in deck 4 in one of the cabins. And there was a radio with 6 channels. And if you go to another country or to another port, you could also tune in the local channel. In 1969, that was really impressive as well. So now it's either there were bunk beds here, or this dresser would be in the middle, and another small bed over this side. So you could not get a double bed in the tourist class cabin. And during the world cruises, some of the passengers would opt to share with someone they did not know, just to share the expenses as well, which was really good. So now we're coming through over to this side. We took clocked 5 million nautical miles, which is equivalent to going to the moon and back 9 times. But overall, she clocked 6 million nautical miles, which is equivalent to 20 years of moving non-stop. So the Kiwi 2 is the most selling ocean liner in the world, and she traveled around the world 25 times, crossing the Atlantic 812 times, and she visited over 200 ports, carrying over 2.5 million passengers, and in total she had 25 captains as well. So the Kiwi 2, she has traveled a lot and she has seen a lot. Then in 2004, she handed over the flagship to Queen Mary 2, the newer flagship of the Cunard line, and they sailed together in tandem to celebrate the occasion as well. Then in 2007, there's this regulation which is called SOLAS, Safety of Life at Sea. So a lot of things to be done on the Kiwi 2 to go in line with those regulations, but it was going to be very expensive to do. So that's when the Dubai government came in and bought the Kiwi 2. But she came to Dubai in 2008. There was an Emirates flyover. The Royal Yacht was also present. And she came with passengers there. They to go back using other means of transport. So the Kiwi 2, she's still making history. She's the first floating hotel in the UAE. And at the moment, we have 224 rooms, 2 restaurants and 4 bars, and she's being operated by PCFC Hotels. That's our Ports Customs Free Zone Corporation Hotels, and we opened last year on the 18th of April as well. So now, are you ready to sail? Yeah. Right, let's go on board, yeah? Alright, so now I just want you to imagine how big the wave was in 1995. So that's the flag mast which was hit by the wave over there. The entire front of the ship was covered by water. The foregon, which was supposed to be by the flag mast there, it was found at the back in one of the swimming pools, and some of the windows in upper deck, they broke and water was going inside also. So the captain was also very clever. Instead of turning away, he went straight ahead, and they reduced the speed from 22.5 knots to 5 knots. So if it just turned a little bit and hit on the side, probably it was going to cause a lot of disaster, but luckily it was very clever. So now, in case you're wondering about the big pipes over there, so they are bringing in the airflow system and also the water. So they were just painted to make it 1960s, the colors and everything. So it's really not a playground over there as well, yeah? So now we're coming on board through this way. So now over this side was also the main entrance when passengers were getting on board, but it was only for the first class passengers. Then the tourist class, it was in the aft at the back over there. And there was also someone standing there welcoming passengers on board. And there also used to be a piano here, so as passengers embarked, someone would be playing the piano here as well. So now, back in the days, there was this lady by the name Beatrice Muller, who actually stayed on the Kiwi 2 for 14 years. So she used to do the world cruises with her husband. And unfortunately, their husband died on board. And from then on, she decided to make the Kiwi 2 a retirement home. And she sold everything. She owned the car, the house, the jewelry. And she came and stayed on the Kiwi 2 from 1994 up to 2008. And she was paying £3,500 per month to stay on the Kiwi 2. She was actually one of the passengers who came with the Kiwi 2 to Dubai in 2008, protesting very well, why are you taking my home? She even came to a point, even if they go to another country or to another port, she would not even leave the Kiwi 2 because she had seen it all, she had seen everything. So the last time I heard, when she left the Kiwi 2, she went on to the Queen Mary 2, but unfortunately she passed away, but she actually stayed on the Kiwi 2 for 14 years, yeah? Alright, so now this area here is called the midship lobby. So it was redone 1994, but this is still the original pillar made from fiberglass. So we'll be seeing a lot of these ones later on as we go to the Queen's room. And the paintings which are seen around, they were also done 1994. And the artist, he wanted to represent the 4 most important stages in the Cunard company life. So that's where it all started. That says somewhere Cunard with the Britannia ship, the one which we discussed down. And as you can see, there's one pin in the postage. So to show that they had a contract for the mailing services with the British government as well. So over this side, you can see now the Cunard line is growing big. We have the bigger ships coming, the era of the Mauretania over that side as well. Then over this side, you can see technology is coming up. People are moving from UK going to America. And that's also the era of the queens. So that's the first Queen Elizabeth, where the QE2 is named after. And this one is named after the Queen Mother. So she retired in 1968. Then 1972, she was bought by a company in Hong Kong. And they wanted to make a floating university. But whilst they were doing the works, she caught fire in 5 different areas. And unfortunately, she sank. But James Bond did a movie there when she was actually like this, men with the golden gun. So you can check it out later as well. Then the other one, which is by the side, that's the Queen Mary, the first one also. She retired in 1967, and since then she has been serving as a hotel in California, Long Beach, and she has actually served more as a hotel rather than as an ocean line as well. Then now over this side we have the Kiwi 2 and the Concorde over there. So now the Concorde was a very big disaster for the Kiwi 2 because the Concorde was taking about 3 to 4 hours to cross the Atlantic, and the Kiwi 2 was taking about 4 to 5 days. So obviously many passengers were preferring the Concorde. So they came up with a package which was called the Kiwi 2 Concorde package. So you fly one way with the Concorde, then you come the other way with the Kiwi 2, which was really nice. At least you could enjoy both the Queen of the Air and the Queen of the Sea as well. So now at the moment we are in deck 2. So all the carpets which you see around, they have been redone, but it's still almost the same designs, the same colors like how it was back in the days. And also the swimming pool and the gym is open from 7 a.m. until 7 p.m. But tomorrow if you get some chance, if you want to take a look, just turn to the left over here, then to the right you see there's an elevator taking you down. You press number 7, so that's where the swimming pool and the gym are at the moment. So now we are coming through over to this side. Deck 1, they were all first class passenger decks, and in the middle it's only some stairways, lifts and some storage areas. But in deck 3, 4, 5 and 6 there are also some cabins in the middle as well. Then over this side we have the Travelers Cove. We started off in 1969 selling very expensive jewelry. Then later on when the Kiwi 2 came back from the Falklands War in 1983, this one became the first ever sea-going shop of Harrods. So this was actually Harrods back in the days. So now it's Circle K convenience store and we are selling donuts in there. If Harrods people come, they're going to be very angry. So it's operational at the moment. You can come and buy some items. It's open 24 hours. If you need to buy something, you can come and buy in the ex-Harrods shop. Yeah? So now we're coming through over to this side. Okay, we are in the quarter deck now. So the quarter deck in terms of food, beverage and entertainment, it was only for the first class passengers. Then the deck which is on top, which is called the upper deck, was for the tourist class. So normally you'd think it's opposite like this, but it was actually like that as well. Then over this side we have a model of the Mauretania ship, which is over 100 years old. And this was also handmade, and it took 2 years to make this model. So it was placed here in 1994. Originally, this is where the tapestries, which we saw down there, they used to be hanging here. So there was a light at the back of the tapestries, and that light with the gold reflecting over these stairways. So the stairways, they were white back in the day. So that combination of the gold and the white, it was really beautiful, taking you to the entrance of the Caronia restaurant. And Her Majesty Queen Elizabeth II has actually been there 2 times, in 1990 and also in 2008. So at the moment, it's still under construction. It will be opening up later on as we are progressing. And the Caronia, originally it was called the Columbia Restaurant, so the name was changed in 1994, and it was also very popular for the midnight buffet. So around 11:55, many passengers will be standing around here for the midnight buffet. So hopefully we'll be doing that later on as we're progressing. Yeah. So now we're coming through over to this side. Anyone want some free drinks? Not in this place. Alright, so this is the chat room bar. So originally the chat room bar was called the Midship Bar, so the name was changed in 1994 also. And as you can see, there's an original map which you are seeing on top there, showing the routes which were taken by the Kiwi when she was doing the Atlantic crossing. So she had 2 routes for the summer and also for the winter. And those 2 ships which you are seeing there, they are also magnetic. So back in the days, there was a small ship over there representing the Kiwi 2. Then one person will be moving the small ship just to pinpoint exactly where the Kiwi 2 was as well. So later after the tour, also if you get some time, there's also an original chart chest inside here, where you can actually see the chart where they used to plan the course where the Kiwi 2 would be sailing as well. So later after the tour, you can come and take a look. So the chat room bar is operational at the moment. You can come have some drinks, order some food, and this one is a non-smoking bar, so kids are also allowed in here. So there's also a happy hour from 4 until 8, so you have like 21 minutes left. Yeah? So now we're coming through over this side. Alright, so welcome to the Queen's Room. So this is the Queen's Room, and this is still the original dance floor which you are seeing over here. The pillars, they are still the original pillars made from fiberglass. So if you hit them, you can actually see them. So they are made from fiberglass. And the Kiwi was one of the first ships with this kind of material, and up to now they are still using it as well. And the Queen's bust, which we saw down there, it used to be just behind over there, just behind the television. That's where the Queen's bust which used to be. And as you can see in the ceiling, the lights, they can change to any color. And also in 1969, they was actually changed to any color also, which was really impressive also in 1969. So now remember, this was only for the VIPs, for the first class passengers. So back in the days, as the crew members interacted with their tourist class passengers, they would get information like if the passengers are celebrating their honeymoon, anniversaries, birthdays, or if they're just going through a bad time. So they would compile a list which they would give to the captain, and the captain would later approve, and the passengers would find a letter in their cabin inviting them to come for the cocktail party, but it was a secret and they were not supposed to tell anyone. Then the passengers, they would come here, mingle with the rich and the famous, and no one would actually know they're from the tourist class. So those are some of the nice things they used to do in here. And whenever they were doing the world cruises, they would also change the theme according to the country they are going to. So let's say they are going to Japan, they would also change the theme according to Japanese style as well. So at the moment we are using it for events. You can book for company dinners, conferences, weddings, parties, and also every Friday it's converted into the kids play area when we are doing the brunch in the Lido as well. So now talking about the Lido, which is just over this side. It's our all-day dining restaurant, so unfortunately at the moment we cannot go in. There's dinner which is going on. So there is a breakfast from 6:30 to 10:30, then lunch is from 12:30 to 3 o'clock, then dinner is from 7 until 11 as well. So later after the tour, if you want to go to an outside deck area, just come to the Lido. They will show you how to go outside. So that's where the biggest swimming pool on the Kiwi 2 was. So it was covered here in Dubai, and will be opening up later on as a restaurant. And also, at the moment, that's actually the only area where you can go and do the Titanic pose. So if you want to do the Titanic pose, just come to the Lido, they will show you to go outside. So at the moment, it's only at the back. The front is not yet open, yeah? So now we are coming back over this side. So if you have a breakfast package in your room, this is where you get your breakfast. Press Q in the elevator, right, straight all the way to the Lido, 6:30 to 10:30, yeah? All right, so now we are coming back to this one.
We go walking all day.
All right. So now we're in the upper deck, so this is the U level in the elevator. And over this side, this is the machines were put in 1972 to try and increase the revenue. Originally, there was actually a library, so they decided to remove the library to put on a casino. And over there, that's where the poker tables used to be, where the pool tables. And all these areas was a poker table as well. So you're more than welcome to take some photos. That's just the original side. And on the opposite side of the Golden Lion, probably device all the people farm. So it's operating at the moment from 12 until 12, but it's a smoking bar, so it's only 21 and above. So that's the only area where you can also smoke. If you feel like you're smoking, you want to smoke in your room. So you can just press U, come to the Golden Lion inside, then you can have some smoking there as well. The Grand Lounge, so if you still remember the first ship, the Britannia, she can actually fit in this room now. So it's either she was very small or the Kiwi is very big, yeah? So now back in the days, this was called the double room. It was the largest room on sea with a passenger capacity of 831. So in the beginning, the shops were just at the back over there. Then they put some seats on top for the first class passengers. Then down here with the tourist class passengers. Then 1994, that's when the shops were extended and they were called the Royal Promenade Shops. But now we call them the shopping arcades and they are being operated by Dubai Duty Free. So let's have the tour. If you want to take a look, we can also take a look around up there. So down here they used to do some live shows, and the late Aretha Franklin, she actually performed here. David Bowie, Sir Elton John, they all performed in this area. And also in 1990, Her Majesty Queen Elizabeth II, she was also here, where she greeted some of the crew members and some of the passengers as well. And after the refit in 1986, in 1987, they did a small relaunch of the Kiwi Room, and Princess Diana is the one who officiated. So she invited about 400 school children. They played around in this area. Then later on, they went outside, where they laid about 3,000 balloons up into the air for celebration as well. So this room also has been graced by a very lot of famous passengers as well. So at the moment, we are using it also for some live music, some live shows. So you can check online to see the dates the shows are coming up. So the ABBA reunion you start in the theater, but on the last day to come here and they'll branch, like it will be like live show the branch as well. Yeah? So you can check it online as well. So let's have the tour also. If you want to go to an outside deck area and have some shisha, there's the yacht club. Just turn over to the right here, straight. You will see there's the yacht club which is there, and it is an outside deck area. You can order some food, you have some drinks, and you can also see some nice skyline, Dubai skyline over there. But it's a smoking bar, so it's only 2 and 1 is above also. So now we are coming back through all of this.